thank you for joining us for this forum presentation of the Postcalls City Council candidates. We will hear from the candidates running for seats 2, 4, and 6. We did make attempts to reach out to every candidate prior to our recording sessions that were hosted last week, and each of the candidates were also given the questions in advance so that they could be prepared for this forum. Not every candidate made the recordings, however, most did. There is one video per seat, and I will share my screen and show each video accordingly. We here at the Postcalls Chamber want the voters to be informed, and that is why we chose to run these forums. If you have not registered to vote, please go to www.voteidaho.gov. It takes just a few minutes to register online. If you would like to vote absentee, just go to kcdub.us for the request form. The deadline to submit an absentee request for the November 2nd election is October 22nd at 5 p.m. Let's get this started. Our first video is for seat 2 of the Postcalls City Council. The candidates for seat 2 are Alan Wolf and Joshua Walker. Joshua was unable to attend due to a work conflict, but let's hear from Alan now. Get the screen ready for you. And share. Okay.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us via Zoom for this candidate forum. Postcalls Chamber of Commerce is excited to help the community to be educated as they prepare to cast their ballots in the upcoming election. Postcalls Chamber would also like to thank the Workforce Training Center, the North Idaho College Workforce Training Center, for its time and its space and its technology in helping us put forward this program. I'm Linda Davis, and I celebrate an inspired and enlightened government process that is based on the gift of choice, and the opportunity to choose is much more powerful when it's based on knowledge. So with that in mind, let's turn to some of the questions and gain some knowledge from our candidate today for the Postcalls City Council seat number 2, Alan Wolf. Alan, welcome. We're happy to have you here. We have some questions that have been prepared by the Postcalls Chamber as a result of the survey that they send out to its members and also on Facebook page. Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right, let's go. You have 3 minutes for your introduction. And we have some guidelines. How long you lived in Postcalls? You have to answer them all, but how long you lived in Postcalls? What's your occupation? What's your educational background? Have you served on any local boards? Have you had any involvement with the Chamber of Commerce, city projects, or city programs? Are you involved in any local civic or religious organization? Would you share with us some things about your family? And have you served on any local boards? So if you want to take that, you have 3 minutes.
All right. Thank you, Linda. I appreciate that. And first of all, thank you to everyone involved in hosting this forum. I think it's a great way for people to get to know those of us who are willing to step up and do a very important job in our community. As Linda said, I'm Alan Wolf, and I am one of your representatives on the Postcalls City Council. As far as my educational background, I graduated from Central Washington University with a bachelor's in mathematics some years ago, and I've also completed my master's in business administration. I'm currently retired from a career in branch banking. I'm the guy that was running your branch of US Bank or STCU here in Postcalls. I've been involved in the community as long as I've been here, which is 35 years, 21 of those here in Postcalls. I've coached over 20 youth sports teams. I've been involved both with the Coeur d'Alene Chamber and the Postcalls Chamber. In the past, I've been on the board for the Inland Empire Girl Scouts, the Kiwanis Club, Excel Foundation, Postcalls Volunteers, Little League, Coeur d'Alene Triathlon, and even First Interstate Bank of Idaho. But my most important involvement has been with the City of Postcalls. First on the Planning and Zoning Commission for 7 years, and now as a city councilor. Since I retired, it's really become my full-time job. I'm also currently involved as chairman of the board for Panhandle Area Council. We make small business loans to businesses here in North Idaho. And I'm also the chairman for River City Leadership Academy here with the chamber. I've also become a member of the Regional Housing and Growth Partnership, which is a group of people from all of the cities and the county working on issues dealing with growth and housing. My grandson Dylan is in high school here at Post Falls High, so my wife and I have also got involved with the Booster Club. Speaking of family, I am married to Danny Zabel Wolf. Some of you may know her through her work with Ironman. She was the volunteer coordinator for several years here. Together, we have a blended family of 5 grown children, 6 wonderful great grandchildren.
That's the best.
Yes,
Are we ready for a question?
I think so.
All right. So the first question is, what is the role of a city councilor and why did you choose to run? What unique perspectives or skills do you bring?
I think the key role for any city councilor is to listen, learn, and then make the decisions that are before us. Listening is by far the most important aspect of what we do. If we fail to listen to everyone or only listen to one group of people, it can easily be swayed by the loudest voice. It isn't fair to those who are trying to make the best possible decision for all of the 37,000 citizens and not just one vocal group. I like to hear from a lot of different people. I like to hear what they have to say on a particular subject. I'm not locked into any one agenda or set of ideals. I was elected to represent everyone in Post Falls, not just a select few. So I'm constantly reaching out to people, get their perspective on things. When I make a decision as a city councilor, I always ask myself, does this make Post Falls better? That is first and foremost the most important job I have as a city councilor, making Post Falls better.
Question number 2. What is the biggest issue with Post Falls today and over the next 5 years? What solutions do you propose to mitigate these issues? How do you plan to pay for this?
Thank you. Well, most people would say right off that growth and affordable housing are our biggest issues. And I don't want to diminish the importance of those issues, but what I've found in the last several months is an issue that is even bigger than those two, and that is misinformation. As a community, we never can get our arms around any of the issues that we face if we don't do our homework and listen to everyone that's involved. So we have to stop listening to just one side of the argument. That's what makes me effective in my job, is I always listen to both sides. When someone presents an issue to me, I hear them out, and then the very next thing I do is listen to the other side of the question. So much more important to get all of the information before we make any of the decisions. My solution for this problem is to continue to work with all sides of the issue, stay engaged with the community, but I plan to hold town hall meetings. For me personally, if other councilors want to get involved, that's up to them. These meetings are intended to sit down with people, hear them out, present to them the other side of the issue, and try to find common ground to work on these and find the best solution for Post Falls as a whole. If you don't like growth, let's talk about it. If traffic is driving you crazy, it's out of control, let's find a solution. If our comp plan needs to be rewritten, revisited, let's take a look at it. Let's find those pieces that need some revision and let's work on it together.
Thank you. Third question. What do you know about the city's use of the state's urban renewal program and do you support it?
Linda, the urban renewal program has been extremely beneficial to the citizens of Post Falls, and I absolutely support it. Some cities have struggled to make it work well, but Post Falls is consistently considered the best in the state at using urban renewal to help shape our city. The program can be a bit confusing to the average citizen, but once you see how it really works here in Post Falls, it makes perfect sense to use this program for developing growth in our community. When people speak about making growth pay for itself, this is a great tool to use for helping growth pay for itself. We use complex data and formulas to calculate the actual impact of every new house, apartment, business, you name it. Anything that gets built in Post Falls has an impact on our city. We use this calculation to determine what that impact is and charge those developers accordingly. Post Falls itself uses this money to pay for streets, parks, police, and our trail system. What's currently left out of the impact in simplest terms, urban renewal is a combination of working together of the city, the taxpayers, and developers to invest in a small amount of money into undeveloped property so that we can make it more valuable, which then helps the developer, helps the taxpayers, and helps the city.
Thank you. How about we talk about impact fees? What do you think?
Thank you.
What is your position on city impact fees?
Well, this is a great example of misinformation that I talked about earlier. There's a large faction of Post Falls citizens who think that developers don't pay their own way, that the taxpayer is on the hook for all new development, and nothing could be further from the truth. Again, we use these complex data and formulas to come up with the impact that any new building has on Post Falls, and we charge the developer accordingly to what those impacts are. As I mentioned, right now those impact fees cover streets, parks, police, and the trails. What's really missing from use of impact fees in Post Falls are our schools and our fire department. These organizations are governed by their own set of leaders, whether it's the school board or the fire commission. And it's left up to them to go to the state and find out how they can utilize impact fees to help them as well. The city council can only impose impact fees on those things that affect the city. It's really up to the other organizations to get their impact fees for themselves.
Thank you. This question, do you believe more land will need to be annexed into Post Falls? Why or why not?
Well, Linda, before I answer that, I'd like to clarify, again, a bit of misinformation that's out there. The city of Post Falls does not drive the annexation process. Annexations are driven by landowners. Landowners come to the city and ask permission to be included down in the city of Post Falls. They ask, and then we consider that and tell them if they can join the city of Post Falls. We as a council decide, again, if it's what's best for the city. So the answer to the question is it's really dependent on the landowners. The landowners surrounding Post Falls, within Post Falls that are currently in the county, will have to decide whether they want to come into the city or whether they want to stay in the county. Our current city council has been very selective when someone comes to us and wants to talk about joining our city. For me personally, I ask myself again, will this make Post Falls better? You check my voting record, you'll see that I voted against several annexations in the past several years that I just don't think make us better. As more people move to the area, more landowners will ask to join the city. We need to be very careful and very selective where and when we decide to expand.
What would you do differently to help mitigate the effects of COVID on our
This is a really difficult question, as I'm sure we all tangle with this. As I see it, the most dramatic effects COVID has had on our community right now is what's going on with our healthcare providers. Business is pretty much normal everywhere else. But I would encourage people to again, do their research, take care of themselves, so they don't have to make that trip to the hospital. As it stands right now, our hospital is overwhelmed. I've seen it firsthand when the hospital is overwhelmed. And what we want to experience as far as going to the hospital and being seen immediately by doctors, nurses, has changed dramatically. I continue to encourage people to do their research, to understand how to mitigate COVID, whether the vaccine is the answer, whether the distancing is the answer, whether mask is the answer. But I really think the key is to encourage people to just stay healthy, not put any more burden on our healthcare.
Thank you. Good one. Okay, the last question, Alan. How would you address the current political divisiveness in our community?
There is definitely divisiveness on a lot of the issues that we talked about earlier. I think the answer to dealing with the divisiveness is through education. Again, I don't want to beat this horse to death, but there's a lot of misinformation out there. And I think it needs to start right here, right now, with me. And that's why I'm making myself available, as I have for many years, to answer these questions that come up from people and to clarify some of the answers. I am organizing town halls. You can contact me through the city, Wolf at postcalls.com, postcallsidaho.com. Set up a meeting. I don't care whether it's with one person or a group of people. I'm happy to come and talk about what's going on with the city, what we can do, what we can't do, what are the drawbacks to any of the solutions.
Thank you. And so now,
Okay, hold on just a moment. We had a network error there apparently on that video, so I'm going to close it down. I'll be right back with you to finish the end of that. So hold on just a moment, okay?
Set up a meeting. I don't care whether it's with one person or a group of people. I'm happy to come and talk about what's going on with the city, what we can do, what we can't do, what are the drawbacks to any of the solutions.
thank you. And so now, Alan, you have 3 minutes to tell us why should someone vote for you? And is there anything else we didn't ask you about that you want to share?
Yeah. Well, people should vote for me because I'm passionate about making Postcalls better. That's why I volunteer for various events. It's a cheap way to help that event make things better, which then in turn makes Postcalls better. That's why I work with organizations like I mentioned. It's my experience in education and help make those organizations better, then it makes Postcalls. Right now, now Post Falls is facing very real issues. Some of these we've seen before. Some of these issues are at a magnitude we've never seen before. I'm currently engaged with helping the community through the Regional Growth and Housing Partnership. We're really working hard to find answers to some of these issues. As far as the city is concerned, I have the experience, I have the knowledge, I have the passion, and more importantly, I have the time to dedicate to making Post Falls better. I will continue to do my research, go to the various meetings, listen to the people, all of the people, and represent them when it comes time to cast my vote. A vote for me, the vote for a better Post.
Thank you. Alan, we want to thank you. The chamber wants to thank you for being engaged in the process and being willing to participate in this specific process.
Okay, everybody, thanks for hanging with me through that network error. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. Next, we're going to hear from seat 4 candidates for the Post Falls City Council. Those candidates running for that seat are Steve Anthony, Robert Flowers, and Nathan Ziegler. Nathan did not make the recording session. However, we are going to hear from Steve and Robert. Get that running for you now. Okay.
Hello and good evening. Thank you for joining us via Zoom for our candidates forum sponsored by the Post Falls Chamber of Commerce. We're delighted to have you here. Post Falls Chamber is fully committed to a voting public with knowledge. Knowledge is power, and so that's what these forums are all about. We want to thank the North Idaho College Workforce Training Center for the space and the technology and the time that let us host this forum here. I'm Linda Davis, and I celebrate a form of government that is inspired and enlightened and is based on the gift of choice. Choices are better, as I said, when they're based on knowledge, and so for that reason, we've gathered together here to talk with those who are running for the City Council seat number 4. We have some questions for you, gentlemen, today that have been gathered by the Post Falls Chamber of Commerce by sending a survey out to their membership and also posting it on Facebook and gathering those answers and sorting through to see what the voting public is most interested in. So we have Steve Anthony with us in the blue shirt, and we have Bob. Oh, Bob, your last name?
Flowers.
Flowers. I should have remembered that. Beautiful name. Bob Flowers are joining us today. So the way this will work is I'll ask Bob the first question, or you'll have the first chance to introduce yourself, and then Steve, and then the next time we'll start with Steve and then you, so that you have alternate opportunity first. Okay, so with that, I think we'll get started. So Bob, if you'd like to take 3 minutes to introduce yourself, that would be grand.
Okay, good afternoon, folks. My name is Bob Flowers. I've lived here in Post Falls for, well, better than 30 years. I went to high school here in Post Falls, so that's how long it's been. I have a wife that's actually put up with me for 32 years. I have 1 daughter, 2 grandkids. And I'm here to run for city council. I don't really talk about myself too well, but I have been a permanent thorn in the city council side for better than 10 years, because I like asking questions of why and what for. I really don't have any background in the council, except for speaking in front of them. I'm a member of the American Legion. I hunt, I fish, I do the things that people love to do here in North Idaho. I work construction, no residential, strictly industrial and commercial. But that's me. All I have to say
Wow,
about it.
that's wonderful. Thank you. Steve, would you like to?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Linda, and I'd like to thank the Post Falls Chamber of Commerce for hosting this candidate forum. I think it's always good to get the information out to the public. A few things about me. I'm married 27 years, my wife Robin. We share 5 children and 9 grandchildren. I'm a lifelong resident of Kootenai County, retired after 42 years service in city government, finishing my career as the Parks and Recreation Director. Currently, I work as a frontline worker at Kootenai Health. Duties include assisting patients and their families. A graduate of North Idaho College and the University of Idaho with Bachelor of Science and Master's degrees. I served as State Commissioner of USA Softball of Idaho for 20 years. I'm a proud committee member who worked diligently to successfully bring the Park Center to our area as it is today. I'm a past president of the Idaho Recreational Park Association. I served on the boards of United Way and Special Olympics in the past. I was one of the founders of Specialized Needs Recreation of Kootenai County. It has grown into a one-of-a-kind program, which is one of my proudest achievements. A nice mention to add, I was selected by USA Today as an Idaho Sports Hero, honored by the Inland Empire Sports Writers and Broadcasters for my 40 years of service. I am a fiscally conservative leader. The city has not collected the 3% annual tax increases allowed by state. I have many years of city budgeting experience to include managing over 100 plus skilled employees. The police department has 100% of my support. In addition, I supported funding for the updated 911 system. The yes vote to increase impact fees on developers for parks and recreation, streets, public safety, and walking bike trails. Our most valuable resource, the Rafton Prairie Aquifer, was given my strongest support for updates to our water treatment facility. Making factual decisions is crucial and to respect private property rights. My promise is to continue to expand public trails, green space, and recreation programs. Improvements to the city center are included in the downtown master plan, which I fully endorse. With the council approval, the passage of the Pleasant View corridors, bringing in Kenworth Trucking, and the large corporations and companies that support them, which will result in high-paying jobs. As advisor to the committee that recommended the adoption of the snowplow program that gave our operators the ability, their ability not to block their driveways in the morning when they're plowing. The new amphitheater at Falls Park and the completion of the sports complex at Tullamore will add to the quality of life in our beautiful area. If I'm reelected, I will continue to work on the connection of the Prairie Trail, Meyer to Highway 41, and all the above issues I've just outlined. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. We'll have the first question come your direction.
Okay.
What is the role of a city councilor and what unique perspectives or skills do you bring?
As a member of the city council, you have many different roles to fill. Attending city council meetings is only one part of being an effective councilor member. The council sets the policies, the resolutions, and ordinances. These ordinances give direction to staff. The majority of the ordinances are set after a series of public hearings and workshops to receive input from our citizens. Our ordinances that get adopted now will have an effect on our children and grandchildren. Council also sets budget priorities, which gives staff direction to meet the needs and directions our city is going to partake. You also need to follow state law and protect taxpayers from legal liability. I listen to the citizens and I respect their input. As a past recreation director, I've always concentrated on quality of life issues. Attendance of the council is a high priority of mine, as I have scheduled set aside time the prior week of any council meeting to prepare. I am prepared to address the issues. I am involved on several city committees. As a former city employee, I have now served on both sides of the podium. This experience gives me a unique perspective on how city government functions. Public safety, the health of the community, preservation of the aquifer, and open space will always be my priorities.
Hey, Bob Flowers Question number 1, what is the role of a city councilor and why did you choose to run? What unique perspectives and skills do you bring?
Thank you. Well, the role of a city councilman, as far as I'm concerned, is to represent the citizens of Post Falls. Their wishes, their dreams, their homes, their families. We are supposed to be listening and representing them. Why did I run? Because I am so fed up with this urban sprawl that frankly Post Falls has turned into. We have continuously annexed land time and time again when we can't even maintain our roads in the city itself. It's gotten so carried away that people are snarled up every day in traffic jams, and it's just gotten out of control. I believe in growth, but I believe in controlled growth, not what we've been experiencing the last few years. And I believe that the city council can and should listen to their citizens and slow things down. Because right now, we're on a crash course and we need to slow things down and listen to our people.
Thank you. So the second question will come your direction as well, Bob. What is the biggest issue with Post Falls today and over the next 5 years? What solutions do you propose to mitigate? How do you plan to pay the solution?
Okay. Once again, biggest issue in Post Falls today is uncontrolled growth. I believe that we ought to stop annexing more and more property and take care of what we have to begin with. In the next 5 years, well, I brought this up several years ago, that our city sewer and water system is a problem. Why is it a problem? It is doubled in cost in just the last 5 years. And every year it keeps going up. Now they just keep telling us that it's the feds that are causing this, that the federal regulations. Well, I think we should look at different ideas and maybe try to save where we can. Every year I have seen them budget in more and more for this wastewater. And every year, at least 4 to 5 times during that year, here comes the wastewater folks, and they're wanting more money on top of what they've already budgeted. I'd like to get control of that waste. Thank you.
You. Steve, what is the biggest issue with Post Falls today and over the next 5 years? What solutions do you propose to mitigate these issues, and how do you plan to pay for them?
Post Falls faces a housing shortage and growth issues, lack of public space, and transportation issues. Being a Copenhagen County native, I recall when the freeway from Coeur d'Alene to the state line was completed. Concern then was that without traffic, the Post Falls economy would suffer. We now have the opposite issue. Our housing prices have soared. This is due to an influx of new citizens and lack of materials for construction. I have supported our transportation plan to use city-used funds to augment state funds for Highway 41 improvements. I have supported the purchase of open space for our Parks Department and the Water Reclamation Program. The impact fee we just adopted for bikes, walking trails in high-paying jobs is an issue. We will continue to look at our impact fees to pass on costs to the developers take on these projects. The Pleasant View development in Highway 41 tech parks should bring in companies that pay livable wages. I absolutely support our police department staff and equipment needed to fulfill their mission as our city grows. The city has been able to meet the needs of citizens and other funds with property without having a property tax increase. Other issues, I think, is on our growth issues, is a few developers, 3 of them, 4 of them, own almost 80% of the developable property. So we have to look at things that we can augment that with. I will always support the purchase of open space for our citizens and work on our transportation plans. And hopefully the new intersection at Celtice in 41 will help save some of those, save us some time with the stoplights and the traffic.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, question number 3, we'll start with Steve. What do you know about the city's use of the state's urban renewal program, and do you support it?
I'm quite familiar with URBs. It's a tool the community can use to promote and enhance economic development. Through tax increment financing, we can help do projects that we couldn't do in the past. When I worked for the city, Lane, I was able to persuade our URB board and the council to refurbish Memorial Field and provide a location for the carousel, both to preserve some of the history of our area. Also, I mentioned earlier that I served on the Croc Center committee. I was able to do conversations with the landowners south of Ramsey Park, convince our URB to buy that property for future use for maybe the park. And it ended up being the site of the Croc Center, which has brought economic development to our areas. Companies have moved here because of that, and also increased the health of our citizens, provide some high-paying jobs for our kids. I do support the city's urban renewal program. I will work with URD to serve or to secure the property that is presently located on. The downtown URD has made several improvements to Spokane Street and the city center. Also, the URD Postcalls Urban Renewal District has assisted with financing several public works projects. Also, they have built parks and recreation and secured school sites. These improved increased property values and added to our balance the city budget. Postcalls URA committee has a history of targeting specific projects and completing the projects and closing the district. Yes, I do support the current projects for Pleasant View and the city center. And if you look at our URD, I believe they've had 13 projects and they've closed several of those early and on time. So when they make a commitment to do a project, they do complete it and they make their commitments. And if you look at what they have accomplished with the Greens Ferry overpass, this site we're sitting on right now, this building, these were all urban renewal projects. And so Post Falls has done their projects right and balancing it between our citizens and the outlying areas.
Thank you, Steve. Bob, what do you know about the city's use of the state's urban renewal program?
I support our Post Falls urban renewal projects completely. They are a great group of people that have a lot of knowledge. There have been several projects that recently that I have not quite agreed with, like a $1.2 million streetlights down the middle of Spokane Street. And actually the new city center urban renewal district, I believe, is actually designed to unfortunately shove out some of our longtime residents and basically make their homes too expensive for them to live in. There are plans to improve everything to the point that their taxes are going to go up and up and up. I was told that just because these folks are on water lots, they're underutilizing their property, so they should move on. I disagree with that. I also do not like the way that they did the Pleasant View Urban Renewal District. It was fine, it was great, all the way up to Prairie. And then they did an add-on to go north of Prairie and annex in 300 and something acres. It basically made islands out of people's homes. Those homes, they were very nice 5-acre parcels, and they basically turned them into islands, and they're dropping a high school right behind them. It's a complete. I support the urban renewal district. I just don't support parts of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Bob, here you go. What is your position on city impact?
Well, for umpteen years, I've been told in front of the city council that development pays for itself. Well, that got to be such a ridiculous story that they finally said, well, it pays for certain things. I believe the impact fees ought to be raised. That we should actually make new developments actually pay for the roads that the city's got to maintain. For this, something towards the schools because of all the extra kids they bring in, the extra firemen that it takes to keep everybody safe, the extra police officers, urban. Well, the impact fees, I don't believe are, they're just not high enough. They're not targeted enough to really include all the real impact that these new developments have on the city. They need to be really paying their fair share, and they're not. These last few developments have been just, they should not be allowed to impact the city this long. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Steve, what is your position on city impact?
I'm a supporter of impact fees on development. The current impact fee that we had prior to the summer was, I believe, too low for developers. But the council this year, after doing a study, taking public input, we doubled the impact fees on development this summer. And that went into effect July 1st. So I agree with Bob, they were too low. We addressed the situation, and now they have doubled. But impact fees is one of the options cities have to charge developers for specific municipal improvements. The city, as I said before, we just recently improved our fees, increased our fees. So that covers park development, increased recreation programs, public safety, transportation, which includes streets. And then we put another category in this year to cover bike trails and walking trails. That was one we didn't have the envelope for, so that has been added to the impact fees. I believe our impact fees should be evaluated and increased more frequently. I think it went on too long before. Impact fees cannot be used to pay for salaries, but the city has been able to set aside to purchase green space. Police facilities improvements, street improvements, and indoor recreation. An example would be the Black Bay Depot. And the city council as a whole, and I personally believe that we'll be looking at impact fees more frequently. But it is a long process. You have to start the process of the fees and get the public input, and it's a 2-year process or 3, but we all agree as a council that we need to get those sooner than later.
Thank you. Okay, we're on the 5th question. So Steve, do you believe more land will need to be annexed into Postcalls? Why or why not?
So I believe more land will be annexed into Postcalls. Yes, I do. I think each annexation presents a different set of circumstances why a certain parcel of property should be annexed. Well, being a member of the council, I've supported some annexations, and I've voted to deny some annexations. Depending on the issues, and will it benefit the majority of the citizens. I am a strong supporter of the 5 to 10 acre infill annexations, depending on the location of the property. The majority of these parcels that are now vacant were all owned by families, and their children have inherited them. These children, this is their inheritance, and they have sold them to another party. I believe the city future will probably be developed through these smaller parcels that are presently located inside the city limits. Also, I think one of my goals is on annexation on some of these parcels that do have the buildings on them already, if we can replace the septic system with connection to the aquifer, it is for the protection of our most valuable resource, which is the Rafton aquifer. That's our sole source of drinking water here. I've also supported some annexations, not all of them, that provide usable open space. I voted on some, though, that have affected and compounded traffic issues during the construction of Highway 41. So I believe that you can't have a blanket yes or no on annexations. You have to look at them, you have to evaluate them, you have to do your due diligence of looking over the annexation and how will it affect the other neighborhoods and how will it affect traffic. And some of them make sense to me, some of them don't make sense to me. But I will always do my homework on it and make sure that anything I do respects private property rights, and that we will make sure that we have the infrastructure to support that annexation.
Thank you, Steve. You believe more land will need to be annexed in Post Falls? Why or why not?
At this time, I don't believe that the city should be annexing any more land. I believe that we should be taking care of what we have now. I have seen some really bad annexations, specifically Pleasant View, North Pleasant View, or north of Pleasant View, I guess, at 300 and something acres. There was no call for that. The city got the county to give them a right-of-way across the county landfill land so they could call it contiguous, connected to the city. Because without that deal with the county, they couldn't have annexed that land north of Prairie because it was not connected to the city. They kept saying that they needed this land up there for the school. Okay, the school is very important. Post Falls will need another high school soon, but they could have gone about it a different way. I believe that right now we need to take care of Post Falls as it is and find out exactly where we're at, because I believe that at this time, the city planning department cannot honestly tell me how many single-family residents as well as multi-family residents we've already approved along the 41 corridor. Thank you.
Welcome, thank you. Question number 6 for you, Bob. What would you do differently to help mitigate the effects of COVID in our community?
I'll be quite straight with you on that. I don't believe that we have any business sticking our nose into the medical field. There are very well-trained, very well-qualified folks in the Panhandle Health District that are there to make these decisions. I don't believe in mandating masks or mandating this and that. I don't know how legal they are, and I don't know really how useful they are. But I am not a medical professional. And to be honest with you, as far as this, the COVID effect on our community, I honestly don't know a whole heck of a lot about it, and I prefer to leave it to the profession.
Thank you. Steve, what would you do differently to help mitigate the effects of COVID on our community?
Well, I'm currently a frontline worker at Kootenai Health, and I would recommend that our citizens follow the advice of their physicians and their healthcare providers. I'm not a healthcare provider, but we do have experts in the field, and I would recommend they follow their advice.
Thank you very much. All right, this is the final question. So Steve, how will you address the current political divide students?
City council elections are meant to be nonpartisan. I represent all of our citizens regardless of any party affiliation. As a councilman, you base your decisions on what is best for the majority of our citizens and taxpayers. I have no political agenda. When I make a decision, I vote after I study all the issues and listen to both sides. I then vote to make sure I am following our established codes and state laws. Will make sure that my vote will improve the quality of life for future generations.
How would you address the current political divide?
Well, first, if I was elected to city council, I would listen to other folks. I have stood up there at that podium for years and seen the blank stare in councilmen faces. I don't believe that they honestly listen. And I'd listen to anybody. I don't care whether they're what party they belong to. I believe that the council should be there for all the citizens of Post Falls, not just the developers, not just to the big money folks, but to everybody. And I believe that people would come together a lot easier if you would listen to all of them instead of just the people with the big money. That's all I have.
Okay. So final statements. Bob will start with you, and then Steve, you'll bring it home. Basically, address why you believe someone should choose to vote for you, and also include anything that we haven't asked you about that you want to include in your remarks.
Well, folks, why should you vote for me? Well, that's a good question. I do not have any experience with the acting on any of these committees. I have volunteered for many of them, both the planning and zoning and the urban renewal. But our current administration doesn't see fit to keep a diverse board. I will help. I will do my best to slow things down in this town and get a handle on where we're at now. I will do my best to make sure that we don't have multi-family, high-density housing in every section of this town. People living on top of people are just asking for problems. And I will listen. I will listen to the people of Post Falls, and any of you out there that know me and know my word is good. I will listen to every one of you. Now, whether I agree or not, I will listen. And that's more than you get from the city council now. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve, why should someone cast their ballot for you? And are there any things you'd like to share with us that we haven't asked?
Well, I think to follow up on the listening, I've worked both sides of the podium, being an employee for a city and being on the city council. I always learned when I was speaking at the podium to make eye contact with the council and notice which ones would make eye contact back with me. On the city council, I always tried to make eye contact with whoever's speaking. After our last meeting, I had a couple gentlemen come up. I'll stay after the meeting and visit with them. And they thanked me for listening to him and making eye contact. He said, Mr. Anthony, thank you. You were paying attention to me, and it looks you understood what I was saying. I might not agree with you, but you were looking at me and I focused on you on the eye contact, because I know sometimes when somebody's speaking at the podium, most of our people that come up have not spoken before. And so if they can have.
Hold on just a moment here.
Why should you vote for me? Well, that's acting on any of these committees. I have volunteered for. I will help. I will do my best to slow things down in this town and get a handle on where we're at now. I will do my best to make sure that we don't have multi-family, high-density housing in every section of this town. People living on top of people are just asking for problems. And I will listen. I will listen to the people of Post Falls, and any of you out there that know me and know my word is good. I will listen to every one of you. Now, whether I agree or not, I will listen. And that's more than you get from the city council now. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve, why should someone cast their ballot for you? And are there any things you'd like to share with us that you haven't asked?
Well, I think to follow up on the listening, I've worked both sides of the podium, being an employee for a city and being on the city council. I always learned when I was speaking at the podium to make eye contact with the council and notice which ones would make eye contact back with me. On the city council, I always tried to make eye contact with whoever's speaking. After our last meeting, I had a couple of gentlemen come up. I'll stay after the meeting and visit with them. And they thanked me for listening to them and making eye contact. He said, Mr. Anthony, thank you. You were paying attention to me, and it looks you understood what I was saying. I might not agree with you, but you were looking at me and I focused on you on the eye contact, because I know sometimes when somebody's speaking at the podium, most of our people that come up have not spoken before. And so if they can have somebody that's kind of smiling at them and making them feel comfortable, they'll focus on you. And I think that's part of my experience being a city employee. My passion is to protect and to conserve and preserve our quality of life in Post Falls with a focus on sound public policy. That is the best interest of the citizens of Post Falls. When I was elected to the council nearly 4 years ago, I made a commitment to be dedicated to the citizens who believed in me and elected me. It was my promise to be a champion of parks, trails, open space, and most importantly, public safety and infrastructure. In closing, I am a supporter of recreational opportunities for families and park development to benefit the present and future generations of the city. The city of Post Falls, and I don't think many people know that, we currently have 1,520 acres of open space set aside. This has been zoned parks and it will never be built on. It will be for the use of the public. Part of this acreage, 491 acres, is parks, and the remainder is open space. We'll continue to be an advocate for the city's purchase of open space and parks. I believe that connectivity to trails is important, walking around schools is important, and we need to provide the activities and the guidance for our future generations to make Post Falls a wonderful place.
And I will listen. I will listen.
Making them feel comfortable, they'll focus on you. And I think that's part of my experience being a city employee. My passion is to My promise to be a champion of parks, trails, open space, and most importantly, public safety and infrastructure. In closing, I am a supporter of recreational opportunities for families and park development to benefit the present and future generations of the city. The city of Post Falls, and I don't think many people know that, we currently have 1,520 acres of open space set aside. This has been zoned parks and will never be built on. It will be for the use of the public. Part of this acreage, 491 acres, is parks, and the remainder is open space. But will continue to be an advocate for the city's purchase of open space and parks. I believe that connectivity to trails is important, walking around schools is important, and we need to provide the activities and the guidance for our future generations to make Post Falls the wonderful place it is.
Okay, thanks for hanging through those network errors. I'm not sure what's happening. It's a Zoom thing. The only thing that we missed on the last recording there was just a little bit of closing remarks from Linda, but Steve did get his final remarks in there. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our final video, which is seat 6. The candidates for Post Falls City Council seat 6 are Eric Klinkhammer, Tara Polly, Kenneth Show, and Linda Wilhelm. Eric and Tara did not make the recording session, but we are going to hear from Kenneth and Linda. Thank you all again for tuning in. I'm going to get this video ready for you. Give me just a second here. Okay.
Good evening and welcome to the Post Falls Chamber sponsored candidate event forum for City Council seat number 6. So appreciative of you joining us on our Zoom call. The Post Falls Chamber believes in an educated population and community as it relates to casting ballots, and for that reason we are gathered here today to speak with Linda Wilhelm and Kenny Show. They will be talking with us in segments to help us to understand their position on statements. We would like to thank the North Idaho College Workforce Training Center for their space and their technology and their time to host us here. I'm Linda Davis, and I celebrate an inspired and enlightened form of government that allows us to enjoy the gift of choice. And choice comes best when it's based on knowledge. So for that purpose, we'll turn our time to the questions that have been created for us as a result of the survey that Post Falls Chamber submitted to its membership and also posted on its Facebook page. To begin, then, we'll start with you, Kenny, to have you introduce yourself. You have 3 minutes, so please take it away.
Thank you, Linda. My name is Kenny. I've been in Coeur d'Alene all my life, born in Coeur d'Alene, lived in Post Falls specifically for about 4 years now. During that time, I did take some time in Texas to work for a state representative. That was my background there in my head. Well, qualified to work somewhat with the state rep. But to the question of how long I've been at Post Falls, about 4 years. Working with the state rep, I did a lot of communication. I was the first on the phones with every constituent. We had a lot of experience working with everyone and their issues while we were facing it. So I did Post Falls local periods, able to connect well with everyone. Other questions as far as my involvement with Chamber of Commerce or other city programs. Not really been involved in city programs per se. I am involved in a lot of organizations. For example, the Rehabilitation Ranch at Coeur d'Alene. I work with them some. A number of other local organizations and events that I brought speakers into try to improve understanding of based on what the Constitution was at the time. I'm very involved in hosting events and helping bring people back to what we're supposed to. And have I served on any local boards? No, I have not. I've been involved, like I said, with other events, but have not served in.
Thank you, Kenny. Linda?
Hi, my name is Linda Wilhelm. I was born and raised in Post Falls, and I have lived here for 65 years. I am a fourth generation Post Falls Wilhelm. My grandpa Franny was the oldest of 11 boys here and was the mayor when I was growing up. My mom owned Joann's Clothing and Fabric, and my dad retired from Post Falls City Maintenance Program here at the Post Falls School District. I grew up with two brothers and sisters. I have two grown children. My son Corbin and his wife Nikki live in Liberty Lake. My daughter Sarah lives in Alabama with her husband Mike. Sarah was in the Army for 14 years, and Mike just recently retired from the Army of 26 years. He received a Purple Heart in Afghanistan, and I'm very proud of these kids, very proud. I have 4 grandchildren. I especially enjoyed playing pool basketball with my 14-year-old grandson Aiden this past summer, even though he beat me every game. I've been a real estate broker here for 28 years, and I'm licensed in Idaho and Washington. I've served on the Post Falls City Council for 14 years. I spend most of my time when I'm not working, landscaping in my backyard and volunteering for projects around town. I'm involved with the Post Falls Chamber Business Fair and the Tiny Trees fundraiser every year. Our committee raised more than $100,000 and tens of thousands of dollars in in-kind donations from citizens in Post Falls and businesses in Post Falls and around the community to build the highway, Spokane Street and freeway water features on Spokane Street, and that was no taxpayer dollars. We also spearheaded the fundraising efforts to do the Eagle Art down at First and Spokane Street in the planter there. Again, no taxpayer dollars. I served on the KMPO board as an alternate for former Mayor Clay Larkin for 4 years and additional 2 years for Mayor Jacobson. I currently serve on the Jobs Plus Board of Directors and have for 10 years, bringing better paying jobs to Kootenai County. I serve as the Post Falls representative appointed by Mayor Jacobson. Since 2010, Jobs Plus and the cities in the county have been instrumental in bringing more than 70 companies, $210 million in capital investments, and 2,670 jobs, and we have more on the way. Over the past few years, the Park and Rec Department and the Water Department have purchased hundreds of acres across the river that they use now as hiking trails and rock climbing, and will eventually be used for part of water reclamation program. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. So you'll have the first question, 2 minutes to answer the question. What is the role of a city councilor and why did you choose to run? What unique perspectives or skills do you bring?
I chose to run for Post Falls City Council seat 6, where I've been serving for 14 years, because I feel like I am the best qualified for the position. I feel like I represent the people of Post Falls. I have the experience and the passion for the community to continue to do an excellent job for the citizens of my hometown. And whether you have lived here all your life or you're a new resident, I will still work hard to serve you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Kenny, what is the role of a city councilor and why did you choose to run? What unique perspective or skills do you bring?
So as far as what a city council member does, the city council is the governing body for the city. They're over the park, rec department, police department, things that affect the city. So as a council member, my position, manage and oversee what is happening in those arenas, as well as interact with the community, find out what work with other people. Not what I want, it's what the people want. So working together with the community to decide what is best for the city. Why I decided to run is I love Post Falls. They don't want to see it to a lot of cities we see where we see a lot of crime and trouble happen. So as a resident of Post Falls and loving Post Falls, I saw the need to step up, and I was someone could step up. I also have a background in the political world that really helps with understanding what goes into legislation, well, on the city level. So I stepped up because I saw the need for it, and I had a lot of people encouraging me to step up. The last question, I guess I did answer that. Like this background.
Great, thank you very much. All right, so question 2. For you first, Kenny, what is the biggest issue with Post Falls today and over the next 5 years? What solutions do you propose to mitigate these issues? And how do you plan to pay for solutions?
I think there's 2 of the biggest issues facing Post Falls right now. The one obvious one is growth. A lot of people are concerned about growth. That is definitely something to look at. Got a lot of people coming in. Look at the last few years of the amount of growth we're seeing. Housing multiplying. We're on a track to get too much growth globally. So that's the one. The other issue I see is that we have a lot going on in the workforce and not enough stepping actually work. We have a lot of young people coming into the workforce that aren't working well, that don't know how to sit. So I think that's the thing we're going to see over the next 5 years. One is the growth. The other is we don't train our young people stepping into the workforce how to be a good citizen and how to have a great work ethic. We're going to see Post Falls crumble from within. So I would say we need to focus on teaching the residents of Post Falls and our young people in the school system how to be good citizens. How to, as far as what I would propose, we can look at other cities and see what they've done and learn from that. I'm not an expert on something at this point, so my job would be to interview and hire those who have expertise. Come up with the great.
Thank you very much. And then question 2, what is the biggest issue with Post Falls today and over the next 5 years? What solutions do you propose to mitigate these issues? How do you plan to pay for solutions?
Well, in my opinion, traffic and growth, obviously, and people's attitudes towards both are the biggest issues in the city that Post Falls is facing now and into the future. I feel we should continue to strive to give the citizens an excellent level of service. I feel our city staff does a great job and goes well above and beyond for the citizens of Post Falls. The city will be updating the transportation master plan starting in the late winter of 2021 and into 2022. The Highway 41 construction is well underway. That is paid for by Idaho Department of Transportation, not by the city of Post Falls. The city of Post Falls transportation projects are paid through the budget and through impact fees. So there's a lot going on and there is a lot to do. And I feel that those are our 2 biggest issues at this point. Thank you.
Yes, of course, you're welcome. Thank you. Question number 3, Linda. What do you know about the city's use of the state's urban renewal program, and do you support it?
Well, actually, I definitely support the urban renewal district and the laws. I know the laws have changed a little bit over the last couple of years with urban renewal at the state level. Post Falls urban renewal has closed districts early. They are phenomenal stewards of the taxpayers' money. The tax increment that has come back to the city from the closed districts that have closed early and the growth in that tax base has taken the tax burden partially away from the residents. And I feel that that is extremely important to bring commercial growth to Post Falls. And I believe that the urban renewal district does do that. The agency does do that. So I am a proponent. Yes, I am in favor.
Thank you. Kenny, what do you know about the city's use of the renewal program, and do you support it?
I believe we need to bring tax burden down on all residents of Post Falls. So this issue we're dealing with is, one, is the urban renewal district a good idea? The other question is, how is Post Falls? From what I've seen in Post Falls, one of the better ways, and I'm still not in favor of the URDs in general. As far as number of proposing Post Falls specific ones, I'm not as researching to them to give a qualified.
Thank you very much. All right, question 4 for you, Kenny. What is your position on city impact?
I'm going to say kind of the same answer there that as far as how Post Falls has managed city impact fees and our research well enough to build and serve on is Post Falls well in our again, I think to bring the tax burden down as much as we can from the individuals as well as those trying to improve the area.
Thank you. Linda, what is your position on city impact?
Well, we just did a new impact fee study this past year. We did raise the impact fees on builders and developers. I believe that new construction should pay for itself. We recently updated and cleaned up our Title 18, and that is going to allow for ADUs, accessory dwelling units, on already existing residential lots. I think that's going to help a lot of homeowners and maybe fill the gap in some of that missing middle that is out there right now, and possibly help with some of the housing shortage and the cost of housing in some instances. Let's see. When the citizens bring issues about the codes, I believe that the planning department at the city does a good job of bringing those codes to city council and to the planning commission. Like I said, just in the past couple of months, we've done housekeeping on that Title 18 and cleaned up some of those codes. And so I think that if the city is shown better, they do better. And that's just how I feel. So I'm definitely in favor of impact fees. I think new construction should pay for itself.
Thank you. And the question number 5, do you believe more land will need to be annexed to Post Falls? Why or why not?
Okay, so hopefully I can make it through my 2 minutes in this one. The area of city impact already goes out onto the prairie. Many of the owners of what used to be farmland lease that to hay farmers and others to keep their agriculture exemption on the property taxes. And that's not going to continue forever. Grass seed is no longer grown on the prairie because it's not at a profit. That stopped when the burning bans happened in the 1990s. Much of that land has been owned by the same families for generations. I'm leaving here today and going to a meeting at City Hall to learn more about something that's called urban growth boundary. We are also going to be talking about cluster housing. And these are just ideas that people are bouncing around and just exploring options. And I am open to exploring options. I feel that city councilors spend dozens of hours a month going through packets of 400 to sometimes 1,000 pages, aside from other meetings that we go to, transportation meetings, street department meetings, planning and zoning joint meetings, meetings with urban renewal agencies, meetings with the wastewater treatment center plant people, tours of that plant, special meetings with planning and zoning, special meetings with our city attorney to teach us more about land use matters and about fair housing laws. And the public is always invited. Those are published meetings. People are invited to come. I have not seen any of my opponents come to any of those meetings, and we rarely see any citizens come. I would like to see more people come. I believe in managed growth, but I do not believe that a no growth attitude and a vote on no on everything is good for any community. And I think that compromise is the key.
Thank you, Linda. Kenny, do you believe more land will need to be annexed to Post Falls?
Question is how big do we want to grow? Want to grow, become a big city. So we have to look at what is for growth area. And that's where planning and zoning does a lot more of that research. I think there's a lot of other bodies and organizations that are doing that research. What is decide what are we going to do, how they will grow. I would love to see as little annexation as possible, but we cannot have no growth. That's impossible. So the question really is how we want to grow. Again, these other agencies are doing the research in their department. So it is a matter of compromise how we want to grow.
Thank you. Okay, question number 6. Penny, what would you do differently to help mitigate the effects of COVID on our community?
That's a hot topic right now for sure. So COVID definitely is a health issue. With the way that we've been dealing with it, mostly overreaction. We are stealing liberty away from our citizens. I don't think that is acceptable. So what I would do differently, I would work on informing the citizens more of what can be done to fight it. We don't talk much in the government about natural, even that is something. It's definitely the way our bodies were created. God gave us natural for a reason. I think that to focus on that, we don't really experience. So as a governing body, what we do, definitely we would not do overreach. We thought areas have 40-year jurisdiction. It's a very hot topic. I know a lot of people are really concerned about what we're doing. I definitely do not support mandates that have happened, completely against those. I would just inform every citizen as much as we can how to take care of themselves, how to have that natural fighting.
Thank you. Linda, what would you do differently to help mitigate the effects of COVID on our community?
Well, I almost know who this question came from. I'm going to say something similar that I said when it came before us at City Council. I wear a mask where it's required. I stay home when I don't feel well. I am fully vaccinated. I would get the booster if I could get somebody to give it to me. I have tried twice and been turned away, and yet I fit the criteria set out by the CDC for that booster. I do believe that COVID is real. I had it. I have been diagnosed as a long hauler. I had pneumonia along with it, and I was sicker than sick. I am under the medical care of a pulmonologist at the present time. I have a compromised immune system, and I'm 65. And now that everyone knows nearly my entire health history, I will say this. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, I'm not a scientist, and I thank and admire them all. I do not believe that a city council person, as a city council person, I have the power, nor should I act like I have the power to instruct anyone on their healthcare choices. I do not believe it is in our job description. I feel I can lead by example and encourage those around me to have the vaccine. I truly believe that I do that. I am certain this is not the answer that the person wanted that asked this question, but this is my final answer. I care deeply for people, but I cannot make anyone do anything. Thank you.
Thank you. Final question, Linda. How will you address the current political climate?
I'm getting all the hard questions. Okay. In my opinion, this is the hardest question of all. I feel like the entire country is angry and it's quite troubling. I too became angry at a couple council meetings this past year and had a couple outbursts, and I apologize for that. I guess after all of those years of just feeling attacked over what has become such a turbulent time, I just got angry too. I feel like anger comes from fear. The here and now anger, I feel it started with the massive influx of people into the county. I feel it was fueled with the fears of COVID, the fears of job loss, and I don't think the presidential election matters helped much. There was fighting over the outcome. I used to be a news junkie, but I actually turned the news off a week or 10 days after the election because I could feel that anger starting to rise in me, and it's just not my nature. I feel if people would come together and just not at the city council meetings and the P&Z meetings about the not in my backyard items. If we could come together as groups, there's so many smart people, so many talented people in Post Falls. If we could meet in smaller groups and just get some ideas going together and then bring those ideas to the city, maybe we could start making a difference. I am hopeful that we can reach a happy medium in Post Falls, and I am hopeful that it will come through conversation and not altercation.
Penny, how would you address the current political divisiveness?
I would echo a lot of what was just said, that we have a lot of fear driving things, a lot of people, a lot of fear. The media is great at exposing things that cause fear. Presidential election definitely did that as well. What we're dealing with in the community is, one, we've got two ideologies in the political realm that are divisive, and sometimes they should be because they are big enough issues and just compromise them. So that's one reason we needed the divisive. The other issue, that there's this weird, interesting thing going on in all of the countries that here too. We've got the people, and then we have the government. And people tend to think the government is separate. So if we, as a body, as city council, we need to reach out to the community and bridge that gap. We can invite them to come and see what happens in these meetings and see how they're addressed, not just, oh, we made this decision and this is what, but get them to be involved, have a voice, understand what goes into it. I think that's really important. That's all. So the political divisiveness is unnecessary. We can include more of it here where they're at. The other side of it is there are some
Thank you. All right, so for your final remarks, I will start with you, Kenny. Why do you think someone should ask about for you? And is there anything that I've not asked you about that you'd like to share? So you have 3 minutes.
Postcalls is growing really fast. We're seeing a lot of disturbing things coming to the area. A lot of things that have happened in other cities are now coming. It's a little delayed here. We're very protected from a lot of the rest, but it is coming. And we need solid people to stand up and say, absolutely not. Critical race theory has no place. We need to stand up for Postcalls and say, absolutely not. A lot of these other things that are coming that are infiltrating our system, we need to be able to stand up, and I'm someone who will stand up, and I will fight that. I've proven with the mandates that we're trying to go in a while back. I stood outside city council. I was kept out by police. I talked with them for a while, had a very nice conversation, but I disagree with their stand because they were violating the laws. I am someone who will stand up. They were on mandates come before city council. I will stand up. If some of these other things come where it's taking liberty away from people close calls, I will stand up. They have. Why would someone vote for me? We need people who will stand up. Stand up. The other thing is our community has a lot of young people coming in, and it's great to have someone include and reach out to them. As much as I hate the reality of it, we do have a disconnect in generations, and a lot of the community that's coming in young and feel disconnect. So I'm so excited that I can bridge that gap.
Thank you very much. Linda, why should someone cast a ballot for you? And is there anything I didn't ask you about that you'd like to put on the record?
I read in the Coeur d'Alene Press a quote the other day, and I felt it was appropriate to share. Honor is a gift a man gives himself. I love that and how true it is. I didn't just wake up one day and have integrity. I was raised by Buck and Joanne Wilhelm in Post Falls, Idaho, and they are the epitome of integrity. In our home, you did the right thing. There was no debate or discussion. In fact, there was never even a thought about questioning what they told us or what they stood for. They taught me to be honest, and I am. They taught me to help, and I do. Like many of you, these are not things we think about. They are what and who we are at the core. I work every day like almost everyone I know. I spend a great deal of time in my car, yes, in traffic. I do wish that Post Falls had shut the door at a population of 20,000, but that's just not how the world works. Yes, I sell real estate. I sell real estate to clients I have worked with for 28 years and to the referrals that they send to me. I do not work for developers in new construction subdivisions. I have said that about 100 times, and yet I get attacked in social media and in the newspaper, and I am on the take, and I am corrupt, and I am none of those things. In the downturn of 2008, the citizens wanted jobs, jobs, jobs. The city and Jobs Plus have worked hard to bring that our way. I have been happy to help on countless beautiful projects in Post Falls because it's what I like to do. I'm a giver, I'm not a taker. There has to be a way for the citizens of Post Falls to come together as friends and neighbors for the greater good of the community. It is my prediction that this no growth movement, if it continues, will end up in job losses that will trickle down to businesses closing, short sales, foreclosures, and depreciation in our existing homes. We will be right back to the 2008 to 2015 economic downturn, and we will have made that happen ourselves. Please consider that. I was thinking while I was preparing this statement, how many phone calls have I answered in 14 years? How many citizens have I went to their homes because they had a problem or a question? Wow, 100, 500? I honestly don't know how many, a lot. And for the most part, I have enjoyed every one of you. This is not a 4-hour-a-month job. This is a position you desire because you love your town. My name is Linda Wilhelm. I'm running for re-election in seat 6 for Post Falls City Council, and I would appreciate your vote on November 2nd. Thank you.
Mr. Wilhelm, so thank you both for taking the time to participate with us today, but also taking the time to have a civic part. The Coeur d'Alene, the Post Falls Chamber, Coeur d'Alene region, all of us, we're also appreciative of one another getting involved and being a part of rolling this forward in a healthy and happy way.
Okay, everyone, thank you for joining us tonight. We will be putting this recording on the Post Falls Chamber YouTube page, which we will announce on our website, www.postfallschamber.com, and on our Facebook page. So if you missed part of this broadcast, you'll be able to watch it there and also share with your friends and family if they were unable to tune in tonight. We want to thank all of the candidates for participating in these forums. We want to thank Linda Davis for taking 3 days out of her busy schedule to host the forums. And finally, the team at North Idaho College for the use of your technology, your classroom, and your time. Every vote counts, and we hope to see you at the polls on November 2nd. Have a great evening.